My next guest will be back in action at UFC 302, June the 1st, when he meets Joe Solecki. And of course, it is Grant Dawson back on the show. Grant, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. And I can't wait to see you back in action. And this really is quite the matchup. I guess you could say it's kind of a grappler's delight. Maybe we'll see how things play out in the octagon. First, I just want to start with UFC 300 and get your thoughts on that as a whole. I mean, I'm sure you watched every second of it, just like myself. What were the big takeaways from you outside of Max Holloway being an absolute savage?
Man, I really thought the card delivered. I was almost certain that with what we dealt with UFC 200, I was positive something was going to happen. There was going to be a pullout. There was going to be a weight miss. There was going to be a failed drug test. There was going to be something that happened that didn't make this card come to fruition. And then when it didn't happen, I said, okay, these fights, they're going to be boring. I thought every single fight was good. Everybody's kind of dogging on Aljamain Sterling. I thought he had a phenomenal performance. I thought he looked incredible. Every winner on that card looked amazing. One of the best cards, if not the best MMA card of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Did you think Max Holloway was going to go in there and beat Justin Gaethje? I didn't. I thought that the size, the strength, maybe just Gaethje, the way that he can like stay in the pocket and land with so much power, that would be the difference. But Max hurt him early and just basically cruised to a victory. He looked phenomenal in that fight.
Well, one of the things that I think happened was when we saw him fight Dustin Poirier, he kind of stayed in the pocket. He tried to put the pressure on. He tried to put as much damage on Dustin as he could, and he couldn't handle the power. And I think that's what I was thinking going into this fight. When the fight first got announced, I was like, I think Max Holloway is going to win that. But then I thought about it more and more and more, and I was like, Dustin would put hands on him and hurt him. He couldn't fight the way he normally likes to fight. I think the same thing's going to happen when Gaethje starts hitting him. Then he came out and he did what he normally doesn't do. He played smart. He moved. He touched. He wasn't trying to kill the calf. He wasn't trying to like knock Gaethje out. He was just touching him, touching him, touching him, and he just took off. And then at the end, what a storybook ending! Crazy. He won $600,000 in bonuses. Good for him. What an incredible fight.
Yeah. Do you think he beats Taporia?
No. We've seen this before where Max Holloway has this insane, unbelievable performance. Then he fights the champion and he comes up short. We saw this when he fought Kelvin Cater. When he fought Kelvin Cater, I said, there's nobody that's going to beat Max Holloway. That Max Holloway is unbeatable. And then Volkanovski made it look easy. Now we've seen him do that against Gaethje. Pretty much the same thing. Maybe not as big of a punch differential, but pretty much the same thing to Gaethje. I just Ilya Taporia is probably the best 145-pound fighter right now. He's so well rounded. He's so powerful. No, I think that Ilya Taporia beats him. And I wonder if it's the weight cut. I wonder if why Max has looked so good is because he was fighting at 155. I don't know. I think Taporia stays the champ.
Okay, that's a great point. That'll be interesting to see what happens, especially if he continues to have success at lightweight. Your teammate Kayla Harrison looked fantastic in her debut victory. As all due respect to Holly Holm, she's a legend. I felt very comfortable picking Kayla ahead of this fight. I thought she was going to win rather handily, which she did. Did you feel the same way going in? Just her wrestling, her grappling is just next level.
Yeah, I've seen her train. I'm friends with Kayla. She's incredible. Like she's throwing men around. She's just she is something special. And maybe it's because I'm also a grappler, but she is something special when it comes to grappling, especially a female grappler. I know she'd be pissed off if I said that, but she I think is the best women's fighter there is, and I'm including Amanda Nunes. I never got to see them train together. I don't know what them training together like. All I can go off of is what I've seen on the screen, and I think that Kayla Harrison would beat Amanda Nunes if Amanda comes back. I thought Holly Holm was the toughest fight out of all of the girls just because of the striking and the range. I thought she was still going to win, but I thought that she was going to struggle a little bit. Didn't struggle at all. I think she's the uncrowned champ. Her next fight should be a title fight. And then I am praying that Amanda Nunes comes back and fight her. And we get to see who the real GOAT of female fighting is.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. You say that you've seen her in training throw men around. Has she thrown you around? Like, has that
Absolutely.
happened?
Absolutely not. Come on. We don't train together. We don't like train together like that. I'm a fat 155er and she's now a 135er. Wouldn't make sense.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Well, what does she weigh like outside when she's at her heaviest? I mean, she's got to be she like 170. She is jacked.
Oh, she's huge. I have no clue what her actual walk around weight is. I really don't. I'm not just saying that. I really don't know what her walk around weight is, but she is a beefcake. Like she's got biceps bigger than mine. Like she is a beefy girl. And I thought that the cut to 135 was gonna be, you know, difficult and maybe it would take a little bit away from her. I was completely wrong. That girl is extremely strong everywhere. Didn't look like she was slowing down at all. She looked great.
I'm sure you've seen this, but did you ever see the Impractical Jokers episode where she threw Murr all around and chucked him in a pool at the end of the episode?
No, I did not know that she was in an Impractical Jokers episode. I like that show too. I did not know that.
Oh my God, you have to go on YouTube and watch it after this interview. It is hysterical. It's one of my all-time favorite episodes.
I'm literally going to do that right after this interview. I had no clue that she was on that. That's awesome.
Okay, cool. One last thing about UFC 300, a guy you know pretty well, Bobby Green, really had a big performance in there, beating Jim Miller. I kept going back and forth. I didn't really know which way this fight was going to go, and Bobby Green looked really good in there. What's your takeaway from his performance, and what would you like to see from him next?
Man, I thought Bobby looked good. I think if you keep matching him up well, he's going to keep doing good things. Personally, I think calling out Patty was a genius move. I think he destroys Patty. I think he'll that fight makes sense for everybody. It makes sense for him. It makes sense for Patty. It makes sense for the UFC. I think that's the fight that they are going to make. I saw a rumor. Excuse me. I saw a rumor that they're either doing Bobby Green and Patty or uh, who's the French guy? Benoit.
Oh,
Uh,
Saint Denis.
thank you. Saint Denis. They're going to do Patty and Saint Denis, which I thought Bobby and Patty makes the most sense because I think Saint Denis would absolutely destroy Patty.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it goes. I think that's a good fight for Bobby. I'm gonna be honest. I thought Jim Miller was gonna beat him. I thought Jim would be able to hang in there because he's super super durable, get the takedown and maybe work his jiu-jitsu. But dude, he looked really good. He
Hmm.
looked really really good. I'm not gonna lie.
Obviously, the last time that we saw you in action, Grant, was in October. The loss to Bobby Green. I mean, is this just a situation where you got caught?
I hate saying. Look, I had a really good camp. I had a really really easy weight cut. I felt really really good going into the fight. Yeah, you could say I got caught. I think it was more I made the wrong read and Bobby made a really good read. I thought I beat him to the punch. His head was gone. He caught me coming in. It happens. Uh, Good on him. This is gonna sound really weird. I didn't get into this sport to beat Bobby Green. I got into this sport to be a world champion. And I know there's people already in the comments saying that you can't beat Bobby Green, you're never going to be a world champion. We all know that's bullshit. We all know, Islam Makhachev lost to Martins, a guy who went on a 7-fight losing streak after knocking him unconscious. GSP lost to Matt Serra. These guys, these really great champions, they lose fights. It happens. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably going to lose again at some point before I win the belt, and that's okay. It's so difficult to be 100% in this sport. I put on a 13 or 12 fight unbeaten streak. It had to end at some point. It's ended. I'm back in the gym. Let's get after it.
Well, that was your first loss in the UFC. Was it difficult mentally just bouncing back from it? Did it take a couple of days, or was it pretty much like, well, it happens, and now it's just time to get back on the horse?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't like I think it would have been harder if Bobby had beat me the way he beat Jim Miller. Like he's just a better fighter than Jim Miller. I don't think that Bobby's a better fighter than me. He was a better fighter than me that night, and I can live with that. But I don't think that if we fought 10 times, he would beat me 10 times. Um, I it, Man, he knocked me out in 30 seconds. And it's funny. I have two losses as a professional. And the first loss I got knocked out in 30 seconds. And the second loss I got knocked out in 33 seconds. So it's like it happens, like it's really not as big of a deal as people think it is. I'm 8-1 in the UFC. I can live with that record.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked for what it's worth. I couldn't believe it when it happened, and I know you got a lot of people, Grant, that believe in you and that support you. What were the kind of like the messages, the feedback that you got from your peers after the fight?
Yeah, I mean, everybody says the same. So, oh, he got lucky, he got caught, or I'm sorry, you got caught. Like it happens, dude. I'm good with it, man. Like it's all good. Moicano, who I think is one of the best fighters in our division, he got knocked out by the Korean Zombie with one punch. Like it happens. Like I thought he was gonna lean back, and I went to go I was gonna throw a one and then duck my head and throw a really hard overhand because I threw the overhand and he leaned back and I hit him in the chest. And I was like, oh, if I just step in and throw hard, I think I'll be able to get him while he's leaning back. And I threw the jab to step in, and he just slipped his head off and threw the cross right down the middle, caught me on the chin as I was going in. It was, it wasn't like he was hitting a target. It was like the target was going at him, and then he hit it. Of course, it's going to be more powerful. So it it is what it is. The only thing that's like pissing me off about the whole situation is everybody saying I got knocked out by a jab. The motherfucker, the dude is a southpaw. That makes it a cross. That's like saying Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo with a jab. Like I didn't get knocked out with a jab. And if I did, who cares? But that's not how fighting works. He's a southpaw. He hit me with a cross. Like it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Whatever, man. It's good. I'm super happy with where I'm at. I got paid more money losing to Bobby than I did beating Demir. I'm good with it.
Did you want this much time off? It's been a while since that fight with
No,
Bobby Green.
no. I did the protocol that the UFC PAI gave me for dealing with training after getting knocked out. I did everything to the T, and as soon as I got cleared, I was like, I want to fight again. And then it was just, look, I get it. I'm a really tough fight, and now if you beat me, you don't even get ranked. So I get why not a whole lot of guys are stepping up. I think Joe Solecki likes the matchup, and that's why he took the fight. So good on him. But I understand why I'm not super active. I would love to be more active. I really want to get 3 fights in this year.
Was that almost the hardest part, having to wait this long to get back in the action, to kind of have to sit on that L?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what I would have thought too. I mean, I know how competitive you are, how much you want to get back in there and get a win. So I imagine that must have just been eating you alive. What has this camp been like? I'd have to imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but are you training a lot with Poirier for this camp, seeing that you guys are fighting on the same card?
Well, he literally just got his a fight now. So he got in today. I'm sure he's been training super hard back home, but I haven't seen him recently. I would say if he wants to train, I'm always down to train. I'm very similar to his opponent, but he's not very similar to my opponent. I'm definitely always down to get rounds in with anybody. The dude's the number 4 guy in the world. Like if I can do well with him, I'm gonna do well with Joe Solecki. That's just the way it goes. So I'm definitely down to train with him. But he's a southpaw boxer. I'm fighting an orthodox jiu-jitsu guy. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. But Gamrot is coming down to help out Dustin, and Gamrot is very similar to my opponent, so it all works out very well.
So then you're going to be getting a lot of rounds in with Gamrot, is what you're saying.
I get rounds in with Gamrot as much as possible anytime he's here. It's like two Tasmanian devils wrestling around with each other.
What an unbelievable luxury to have all these world class athletes to train with at ATT. Sometimes you just got to step back and be like, man, like there's no better place in the world to be.
There really isn't. There was one day we were doing groups of 4. It was me, Armand, Moicano, and who's the other guy? There was one other guy in our group. Uh, it was Nathan, PFL Nathan Schulte, and we were all in a group together, and it was just like, where else are you gonna find a group like this? This is insane, I just got done helping Armand get ready for Charles Oliveira, so like I'm ready, man. I belong in the top 15. I know I lost to Bobby. We're gonna get this win, and then I'm planning on fighting Jalen Turner after to kind of prove what happened, and I really want to get back in the top 15 this year.
Yeah, I love it. That would be a great matchup, Jalen Turner. This might be a really tough question to answer, but with all these different guys that you're going with at ATT, is there one person that is maybe more miserable than the others to train with? Someone that just stylistically wise might give you a hard time or just make it harder on you?
I mean, it sucks going with everybody, honestly. They're all really, really good. Uh, I would say Gamrot is difficult for me because he moves a lot, you know, and Armand's not Armand is very difficult as well, and so is Moicano, but they kind of stay stationary, and so it's like easier for us to like get a hold of each other and kind of. Gamrot moves so much, like it's so hard for me to take him down because he's constantly, I constantly got to like trace him down, and then he's in on your legs. Like Gamrot's a difficult cookie to crack. I will give you that. I'll give him that.
Tell me, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to interview already a handful of times in your career, but I know, as you continue to evolve, your schedule gets busier and busier. How difficult is it now to balance like what you have to do in training to get the work in to get ready for these fights with your personal, your family life? I mean, I know your wife Elle, very talented person in her own right. Like, there's got to be a balance, I'm sure, in any relationship. How hard is it? Is it getting harder?
I mean, you're acting like I have a personal life. Like this, bro, this is all I do, man. I've train and collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like that's literally all I do. And my wife also trains, so we get plenty of quality time together. This is it, man. Like there's no balance. It's all MMA. I'll figure out balance once I'm done fighting.
Does she? I forgive me. I don't really know much about her. I guess professional career. Is she really trying to get into it as a fighter, or I know she does media stuff like with Fight Bananas and whatnot. But like, can you tell me a little bit more about like what she's doing now?
Yeah, she's 5-1 as a professional fighter, and she's a little spitfire. The problem is that she's a 105er, and the UFC doesn't have 105. We've tried to go up to 115, and that is her one loss, where she just pretty much got outsized by the girl. Like she's not big enough to compete at 115. She's tried to put weight on and she just can't do it, which, is good for me, right? Like, come on. But she's tried to get bigger. It doesn't happen. She's a 105er. So really, and she's also coming off a knee injury right now. So the number one thing right now is for her to get healthy and then get back to fighting. I think her big goal right now is to win the Invicta belt. That's her kind of like what she's focusing on, and then we'll just go from there. With a girl like her, being at 105, you kind of got to go in baby steps. Like with me, it was like, dude, there's this giant end goal, UFC champion, doesn't matter what weight class. That's the end goal, UFC champion and out. With her, it's kind of like, well, we can't make it to the UFC because they don't have 105 right now. Well, what if they add 105? Well, that's great, but we don't know right now. So it's kind of like baby steps. Become a pro. Okay. Get signed to Invicta. Okay. Win the Invicta belt. Okay. And then go from there.
Okay, fair enough. That makes sense. Well, exciting with what the both of you are doing in your careers. Let's talk a little bit about UFC 302, shall we? Again, June the 1st, you're going to be traveling up to Newark, New Jersey. We already talked about your teammate Dustin Poirier a little bit. Fighting Islam for the title. I mean, I can't wait to watch it, man. Like when you look at the fight objectively speaking, what do you think we're going to see? What any different wrinkles from Dustin here in this fight?
Man, I think he's just got to be him. Um, don't be silly, jump the gilly. He's gonna do it, do it. If Islam doesn't take him down, I think Dustin's gonna win this pretty handily. That dude has so much power and he can box. I think Islam has to take him down to win this fight, and that just gives him the chance to throw up the guillotine. Hopefully, he can get up. If he doesn't get up and get away, I think I haven't talked to him about this. Is just in my head. If I was Dustin, try to get up, try to get up. Okay, I can't get up. Don't get submitted. Next round, go out, try to knock him out. He shoots, jump the gilly. You got 5 rounds to do it. Dustin does not get tired. He does not slow down. So he's going to be as dangerous round one as he is going to be in round 5. He's going to get slipperier because he's going to be sweating. I think the longer the fight goes, plays out for Dustin. I really do.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch, man. Do you think he beats him via decision, or do you think he can actually get him out of there?
I think it's more likely that he beats him via finish. Dustin is a finisher. Dustin has won by decisions, but I think that Dustin is so dangerous, whether it's with the guillotine or with the power, his boxing power. I think his best chance to win this fight is by knockout. I mean, if you came to me and said, "Hey, Dustin won," I would be like, "Oh, cool, he knocked him out." It's like, no, he didn't knock him out. I'd be like, "Oh, he submitted him with the guillotine." It's like, no, he didn't submit him with the guillotine. Then I'd be like, "Won by decision?" It's like, yeah. Okay, so like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
he can win by decision. It's just it makes the most sense to me that he would win by knockout.
Does he know that like he's in a very select group of your favorite fighter's favorite fighter?
I think so. I think he knows. He's a good dude. He's a really really good dude. Just today we were talking, and because my coaches are his coaches, and except for we have the same corner except for one guy, and the UFC already bought Pitt and Mike's flights with me, and then he got on the card, and he was like, "Hey, they've already paid for Mike and Pitt. Let me get one of your cornermen so that you don't have to pay for like all the cornermen to be there." And like, he didn't have to do that. That was like super cool of him. He's a really really good guy, and I think that if you don't like Dustin Poirier as a fighter, you just don't like fighting.
100%, right? When you say Pitt, you're talking about Tiago, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think we're going to see in that Mike Perry BKFC fight?
Oh, I think I almost called him Moises. I think Pitbull's gonna knock him out. He's such a good striker, man. He's looking really good in the gym. I mean, I wasn't here when he fought before, but he's had a really good camp. He's looking fit. He's looking young. I love it. Like, I think he's gonna go out there. I think he's gonna knock out Mike Perry. I hope so. Mike's tough, but man, I hope Pitbull just places one on him, man. Puts one on his chin, puts him down. You know?
Later in your career, would you ever consider BKFC after you've
No,
won the UFC belt?
no.
No. Okay. Fair enough. Let's talk about Joe Solecki.
Here, real quick.
Yeah.
If I do BKFC or whatever it is, just know it means I was broke.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? It's not MMA, right? It's not, what you see with the UFC. It's different. So like some people like it, some people don't. It is what it is. I had to
I'm
ask.
just Bobby Green went out there and knocked me out. You think I want to get into a sport where all it is boxing? Like, come on.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, fair enough. I believe in you. If you ever decide to do it down the line, I'm sure you'd be just fine, Grant. I'm excited for this fight with Joe Solecki. Again, like I said earlier, maybe a grappler's delight here, depending on, what we see from, you or him as far as your game plan goes. What do you think we're going to see in this fight? Is it going to be, very grappling heavy? Is that what you're expecting?
The only way it's not going to be grappling heavy is if he can stop my shot, and I just don't see that happening. I think I'm going to do exactly what I do every time I fight. I'm going to get in his face. I'm going to start touching him up. I'm going to change levels, take him down. I think the only difference here is he's going to really try to submit me off of his back, and it's been a long time since I've fought a guy that's tried to like been okay being under me. And okay, I'll try for the arm bars and the triangles and the guillotines and stuff like that. So I do think it's an interesting matchup. Um, I don't know what the line is. I would assume that I'm a pretty big favorite against him, but he is definitely a guy that can jump up there and snag an arm if I'm not careful. However, I want to be back in the top 15. I want to get back to that number 10 spot where I beat Demir, arguably one of the best guys in the UFC. I beat him, and I beat him better than anybody else beat him. And I got that top 10, and then tragedy struck. And I want to get that out of here. I want to get a really, really good performance, and I want to fight again this year to get back in the top 15. So my whole goal into this fight is going in to do damage. I want to come into this fight and I want to hurt this dude. I want to put my elbow to face, and I want to do damage on this guy and prove that I should still be in the top 15.
I'm sure you've watched plenty of tape on Joe. He's got some big wins over Jim Miller, Austin Hubbard. Is there anything that stands out as far as his game goes that you have to be most careful about? You talked about maybe him trying to go for some subs from the bottom. Is that going to be something that you feel like he's going to be trying to target? Because a lot of times with your grappling, you end up on top. So is that maybe his best course to victory here?
I think his best course to victory is to take me down and take my back. We're very similar on top. We're very similar guys. we're very similar fighting styles. I think the biggest thing that separates us is I am not willing to be on my back, and I think he's a little bit willing to be on his back. We just saw him got knocked out by who did he fight? I
Jakar
literally,
Close.
yeah, thank you. And it was by an armbar attempt, and he got slammed and knocked out. So maybe he'll put a little bit more focus on not being on his back. I doubt it, but I'm working on everything in my game, and the thing that I always tell people is like, I'm not getting ready to fight this guy. I'm getting ready to fight the champion. Whoever the champion is, I'm preparing for that guy. And if I can beat him, that means I can beat everybody else on down. So yes, we're watching his film. Yes, we're coming up with a really solid game plan and a really solid camp, which is going great so far. But for me, I just got to go out there and be myself. And the buzzword of this fight is going to be damage.
Do you think you finish him?
I do.
All right. And does a finish over Joe Solecki, Grant, does that get you back into the top 15, or are you like right there teetering like 15, 16?
I think I'm 16 right now, but I think the biggest maybe Favola's 16, I'm 17, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter. I think I would rather have an amazing performance with lots of damage that goes to a decision than a not great performance that I end up squeaking out a finish close to the end, right? Like I do think I'll finish him. I don't care about the finish. I just want to do as much damage as possible for 15 minutes or less.
I can't wait to watch, man. I got to be honest. I like both of you guys. I've been fortunate enough to talk to you both for a while now. So it's too bad that you have to fight, but I'll definitely be tuning in to watch you guys compete. It's going to be a fun one. June 1st, UFC 302. Grant Dawson meets Joe Solecki. As always, man, I appreciate your time. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank? The floor is yours.
Man, I want to thank all my teammates and all my guys sticking by me through this. Coming off this loss, nobody's looked at me different. Nobody cares. Everybody moved on. Everybody's just trying to help me get better. And I can't wait to bring back another belt to American Top Team, the best gym in the world.